Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing edition of the Super Sellout Podcast.
Episode 4!
We're getting up there, man. 4
Yeah, man.
episodes. That's super hardcore. Look at us, champions.
That's a whole month.
Ooh, that's right. I think after every month, we should start talking about our terms of the bet, see if we want to change anything, review our statistics.
No, I'm committed, man.
You're committed?
Yeah.
Alright. He's still confident he thinks he can do it.
We can do it. I can do it. We can do it.
He thinks that $300 is in the bag.
I believe.
He bereaves. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got such a great episode this week because fuck all has happened in the last 7 days. So let's just get into it. Oh my god. What's the first story?
Gonna be a real test to see how long we can milk these news stories for, man. Opening story to talk about: San Francisco has banned the sale of e-cigarettes. So basically, recently, San Francisco, their house, they pushed for a bill to say that all e-cigarettes cannot be sold in San Francisco unless they are approved by the FDA. So that's the Federal Drug Administration, I believe. So basically the argument was that e-cigarettes were being marketed to younger people, and because of that, and there's no regulation on it, they decided to just straight outright ban it. Now, a whole bunch of people are pretty pissed off because they were previously smokers, and it's only been with the help of e-cigarettes that they have been able to quit their smoking addiction. So now we got a whole bunch of different... There's actually a lot of components to this news story. But yeah, so what are your thoughts initially?
There's... I follow I'm in like a vaping group on Facebook, which my cousin got me into simply just so I could learn more about vaping. Didn't really use it. It's just some like place where they post vape memes. But I initially saw this on Facebook, like scrolling down, it's like San Francisco has banned e-cigarettes, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is some fucking bullshit right here. It's kind of like the equivalent, like my initial thoughts is, well, this is like the equivalent of San Francisco banning alcohol, however fucking long, not San Francisco, Chicago, when they banned like alcohol way back when. So if I was in San Francisco, I wouldn't be able to buy these anymore, and I wouldn't be able to buy fluid or anything. So, initial reaction, what the fuck, that's bullshit. Are you fucking for real? This is absolute ridiculousness. Stupid government people just don't understand anything. That's initial reaction. So, there are kind of a lot of different angles you can look at this sort of thing. So, from their perspective, they're talking about, oh, well, you get all these different, like, candy flavors and, fruity flavors, and, those are things that kids like, So kids are going to look at that and think, yeah, I want the taste of strawberries in my mouth whenever I want, or whatever. It's the cool new thing to do now, vaping. I mean, it's been around for, like, it's more than 10 years now, I reckon, when it started, and it's gained a lot of popularity recently. But the reason it's gained a lot of popularity, yeah, right, there's that coolness component to it, but it's really word of mouth how vaping got really popular. This is people who would go to pubs or like go into smokers' rooms or go to their mate's house and their mates are smokers, and then suddenly they pull out one of these things. They pull out one of these, and all their mates are looking at them. And they're like, dude, what the fuck is that thing? And they go, oh, it's my vape. And they're like, do you want a real cigarette? Like, what's wrong with you? They're like, nah, man, I'm off the cigarettes. This shit is the bee's knees. And TBH, this is the bee's knees, as far as I'm concerned. These things are awesome. So they taste better than smoking for one thing, but I mean, the success rate of quitting smoking and going on to vaping is really significant. And it's partly just because of people telling people to keep doing it. It's just an all-round better alternative to smoking, because it doesn't kill you like cigarettes do. I mean, even the argument you can put up for cigarettes, yeah, right, it takes it like 50 years for cigarettes to kill you. You know, the damage that vaping does to you is so small that it more than likely won't be the thing that gets you in the end, is like puffing on one of these things. But I mean, just from like mine and your experience, I mean, the transition you made going from smoking however much you were smoking every day into when you started vaping with nicotine, it's ridiculous. I've never heard of like patches or nicotine gum or anything like that making that kind of difference. I mean, everyone who just does patches, you know, it's like they wear it for a day, they're good, and then they're back on the cigarettes the day after.
Like, patches definitely do help. So, as a smoker for like 5 years or so, I've tried a whole bunch of things to quit, man. Like, I've tried, like, mainly patches and gum. And not gonna lie, patches, they kind of help a little bit in a weird way. It makes it so that it's less intense than cravings, but you still ultimately want to smoke. Gum is really hit or miss with different sort of people. Some people, like, really just cannot deal with using a gum because you're not supposed to, like, constantly chew on it, and sometimes you can get stomach aches from it and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like, I haven't bought a pack of cigarettes for almost 6 months. It's basically going to be 6 months in like a week or so. So yeah, so like I think that's the longest time I've been off cigarettes at all. Like, the other time has been like 1.5, 2 months. But otherwise, yeah, it's helped me out a lot. Even though in Australia we can't actually get any nicotine liquid, it's not illegal to import it for personal use. So for San Francisco, for them to ban e-cigarettes is like, from strictly a quitting tool for current existing legal smokers, it's actually like really bad. Like, so everyone knows that smoking is bad for you. Like, I don't think that there's any smoker in like a developed country that doesn't know that smoking is bad for you, man. Like, it's like, have you met those people who, like, when you're having a smoke, people say to you, oh, you should quit, it's bad for you. I don't think that there's anyone who, in Australia or America who smokes who's like, oh, what, it's bad for you?
I never knew that, yeah.
Shit. Like, I thought this coughing was just like a part of the flavor, you know? And I thought waking up, like, with your throat sore and your, like, mouth dry and shit, I thought that was all just a part of the experience, man. But it's bad for you? Pff, what, really? So yeah, everyone obviously knows that smoking is bad for you. And yeah, but the issue right now is that there hasn't been a long-term study on the effects of vape.
Because like, it hasn't been around on the lungs long enough to properly make that kind of study. We haven't been able to like study someone who's been vaping for 50 plus years, because no one has been vaping for 50 plus years, really.
Yeah, so they haven't really sort of determined what the long-term effects of this would be. But at the initial stages, older research points out that it's at least safer than cigarettes. Because, like, yeah, just like you're burning stuff, and there's carcinogens and a whole bunch of shit like that. So, like, immediately off the bat, it's just better than cigarettes, right? So, if nothing else, if people were going to have to either smoke or vape, it's much better for people to be vaping than smoking, at the very least, right? And then, yeah, so from, like, just a quitting or as an alternative perspective, it's, like, just terrible that they banned them, right? But there's a couple components to this, right? So they technically said that it's banned unless those e-cigarettes have FDA approval, right? So they have to study what are the long-term effects and what are the effects of e-cigarettes on people's lungs and their health in general, right? Now, one of the things that people really sort of bring up about e-cigarettes is that, oh yeah, like, people, like, there have been people who have been exposed to some of these chemicals for the long term, and they've developed something called popcorn lung, right? And so that's I think it's propylene glycol or something. So yeah, so that's why, like, in recent times, a whole bunch of companies who make like vape juices, they specifically put on their label, does not contain propylene glycol. Yeah, which is supposedly the popcorn lung chemical. So yeah, I suppose one component of this is they want a much more thorough study with the FDA to ensure that e-cigarettes and their juices are like quote unquote safer to use, right? So that's one. So that's one component of it, and I can agree to that to some extent. But supposedly, like there's a whole big like secondary political aspect to this is that they want to just straight outright ban e-cigarettes because supposedly e-cigarette companies are targeting minors and children with like the advertisement and the way in which they're marketing these products. And supposedly statistics have come back that apparently like 1 in 5 like high schoolers in the region currently use e-cigarettes, right? Which is actually pretty crazy in my opinion because they're just high schoolers, right?
I went to a private school, and if you told me that percentage of people were smoking cigarettes in my school, in a private school, I wouldn't have been surprised because I knew a lot of people in a private school who smoked cigarettes. So realistically, if you're telling me 1 in 5 is vaping, then it's probably a net positive if you ask me.
Like, yeah, me too. Like, there were people in my school, like in my high school, like especially like year 11, year 12, who did smoke, and they'd like go to car parks to smoke, or they'd like leave for lunch to smoke. But yeah, like definitely not 1 in 5. That's 20%, right? So it was like realistically, I think it was might have been like 5-ish%, which would be like 1 out of 20 or something, right? But yeah, like so definitely, there are more kids vaping than there would be smoking, in my opinion.
I don't know. I'm even just like hearing that in general. I'm very skeptical about that sort of thing. It's just like, okay, where did you work that out? Did you just go to schools and start asking kids, do you vape? Do you vape? Do you vape? Hey, excuse me, young man. I just had a question for you. Do you vape? I mean, like, really? I mean, are you even allowed to advertise e-cigarettes?
Like,
I know,
yeah, actually,
I know
I
you're
don't know
allowed.
what the
I
law
know
is.
that. So we're not allowed to. Nowhere are you allowed to advertise cigarettes, for one thing. So I don't know if e-cigarettes fall under that same category, and because I certainly don't see any kind of vape advertisement anywhere. I don't even think I see ads for like juices and things down my Facebook page or anything like that. And they should know that I would be interested in that sort of thing because I have bought juices and coils online before, but I never see those ads. So I would be under the assumption that maybe they're not allowed to advertise that sort of thing. And having said that, Nicorette, who is kind of got like the monopoly of nicotine products outside of cigarettes in our country, they all advertise gum and patches or whatever on TV, or that like Nicorette spray. You go, yeah, it just gives you your hit. So I do see ads for that. So I don't know if this would fall under the Nicorette category of it's okay to advertise this because it's an anti-smoking kind of product. They're not really cigarettes. Or if it falls under the cigarette category because you're still technically inhaling and blowing something out.
You make a good point, actually. Like, to be honest, like, back when I was a smoker, like, last year, a lot of times during my Facebook feed, I would see ads for, like, quitting tools. Like, a whole bunch of, like quit smoking Victoria and, like, yeah, just, like, quitting products and stuff. But now I don't see them at all. So just to, like, go on a tangent, like, how does Facebook know not to push forward anti-smoking like advertisements to me now that I'm not a smoker, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I guess like the angle that they're trying to push is that like even though like e-cigarette companies or their juices, even though they may not and probably aren't like advertising their products to like younger kids, supposedly their argument is that because these like juices have like these sweet sort of like flavors to them, that means that they obviously must be marketed to kids, right? And I think that that's like a
That's the
very
same argument
incorrect
as
assumption.
it's the same argument as children, like children's movies are specifically made for kids, or cartoons are specifically made for kids. I mean, like, how many times have people been ridiculed for like watching anime, like One
Yeah,
Piece,
man.
or like Naruto or something, and they're like in their 30s? Are you for real?
And that's exactly it. Like, like, how come it seems that kids have a monopoly on all the nice flavors?
Yeah, right.
It's,
Why can't we
it's,
eat strawberry ice cream?
yeah, how come adults can't enjoy some like strawberry berry flavored like vape juice? Of course we can. It's like what, like adults we can only have tobacco flavored,
Yeah, right.
or like whiskey flavored, or bacon flavored, or some shit, right? Which I'm like 100% sure that they're like all of those are actual vape flavors.
Oh, of course.
For sure.
Dude, I've got a fucking flavor called Bosnian breakfast here. What the fuck is a Bosnian breakfast? It just like smells like maple syrup or something.
Sounds like a sex thing. Or I gave her a Bosnian breakfast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, bad. But yeah, so we're not so governed on the vaping thing that we can't have things like vape stores, and places aren't allowed to sell their own vapes. But we can't get access to nicotine down here too easily. Like, we can import it from New Zealand or wherever. But there are places, I of course wouldn't know about these places, where there are guys who would just like sell it to you under the counter or whatever. But that's not legal, and people
like,
want that to be more
neither.
accessible. But that whole like under the counter thing. Also, you've like totally dropped for me. I don't know if you still hear me. Hello.
Yeah, okay, we're good now.
Okay, your video's back. Alright, cool. Alright, that was interesting. So, if you outlaw something that people want, it creates what's known as a black market. So, if a lot of people really want something, but you tell them they can't have it, they'll find other ways to get it. It just won't be legal. And then people are going to be incarcerated for things that should be legal.
Oh man, this is just like the legalized marijuana shit again.
Yeah, sort of leaning a little bit towards that, right? I mean, say what you want about marijuana, people want it. A lot of people want it, and it is starting to get legalized in a lot of different places. So, I don't know, man. Is vaping really that much different?
Holy shit. Like, I just remembered there was literally a South Park episode that was kind of like this.
Medicinal fried chicken?
No. Literally on vapes. So like, so Cartman and Butters were literally going around their primary school selling vapes out of like, you know, the stereotypical like, the trench coat with the like, oh yeah, what sort of like vapes you want and shit. Literally, if they like made it illegal, you might actually have kids just like doing dodgy deals, selling vapes and vape juices to kids.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
people will find ways to get it. They'll just be paying way more than what it's worth for one thing, and then it's another thing that you can get in trouble for from police. Why do you have this? You shouldn't have this. I'm issuing you a fine. You can go to court.
Yeah. So they pushed through this bill. Supposedly there was supposedly initially they were going to phase in these laws like 2020 something, which is a couple of years down the track, but like they just pushed it through real soon. And apparently like one of the companies who has like a major market share of vapes and e-juices, they're like, yeah, they're totally okay with there being approvals and regulation and so on, but for outright banning, it's just like,
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like, imagine if it was an alcohol company, but it's a little bit of a story. I got a bit of a work friend who went to Thailand, and he went to a bar and they had this really good deal for alcohol. It was like spend a certain amount of whatever their currency is, and you would get unlimited drinks for the rest of the night. And he was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll take that deal." But the ethanol content in the alcohol was really high, and it made him like super sick. So if he had like too much of that, he could have like ended up in hospital or something. So, I mean, you wouldn't want scenarios like that where people are putting ridiculous different kind of fucking concoctions in your vape juice, and then you do a little too much of it one day and suddenly you can't fucking move your legs. I mean, yeah, sure. But where's those kind of restrictions for cigarettes? You hear about chemicals that are used in nail polish or chemicals that are used in rat poisons and shit like that that are being put into the papers of cigarettes just so they can burn better. I mean, where's our heavy cigarette regulation? We're all so fucking terrified of cigarettes that we're going to tax them out the arse and make people pay 30-something bucks for a pack of 20s. Well, come on now.
Not gonna lie, it was the taxes on cigarettes that really pushed me to quit, man. Like after they pushed those taxes again, I was like, nah, I'm out of this. Like I have been able to save so much money by not smoking. It's actually crazy. Like, because I'm someone that actually saves money as opposed to someone who like spends that extra money. And so when people say, "Oh yeah, it's like however much money you like spent on cigarettes," like a pack of cigarettes is like $20 times like how many a day times how many a week. Therefore, over the course of the year, you would have saved like $8,000 or $10,000 or something.
Yeah. Well, how often do you buy vape juice?
I buy like maybe $50 worth, and it like lasts me a month and a half. So I'm basically paying like maybe 10-ish bucks, probably a little bit less than 10-ish bucks a week.
Yeah. And in your total time of vaping, you've owned 2 vapes.
Yeah, man.
So you've had one little pencil thing that probably cost you 40-something bucks, and now you've got your nice one, which costed you a little bit more, but it will last you way longer.
Yeah, man.
All you have to do is spend a few dollars replacing coils, and whatever you buy in juices. It's so much cheaper. I mean, it almost like if you want to go down some rabbit hole conspiracy theories, they probably just want you to buy cigarettes because it's taxable. Though I don't know what Americans pay for cigarettes, but
like I assume that their tobacco is also taxed pretty heavily. Like it seems like all developed nations are starting to tax it pretty heavily now. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like while I'm like on the train and stuff, and I'm seeing like on my way to like different places, I'll see kids smoking cigarettes, and like I know it's not my business, and it'd be really awkward and weird for like an older person to come to these kids and say this, but like I kind of want to go up to kids and just be like, "Hey kid, if you get a vape, it's way cheaper for you. It's way cheaper and better for you, right?"
I mean, if you want to talk about that, I mean, like kids, the whole black market thing, if kids want to get access to cigarettes. I remember I was talking to this fucking chick in the bar one day, and she reckons she was going to go down to the school, hide in the toilets, and sell kids like $5 a smoke.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if kids have like pay that sort of money for
I don't know, but like
it's not hard for like kids to circumvent the law. Like they just get an older brother to pay to like buy it, or like an older sibling to buy it or something, or there's just like that one friend that they all have that just buys packs of cigarettes, right? So it's really not that hard.
They do the same with alcohol. I mean,
yeah,
you hear about 16-year-olds getting their hands on alcohol. I got drunk for the first time ever when I was 14, and I barely had a drop of alcohol before that. I got pretty badly off my face because I was chugging like bourbon out of the bottle. And I mean, it's just like, I mean, how many people's parents just have alcohol lying around, for example? How easy is it for a kid to just go into the fucking cupboard and grab a bottle of alcohol really late at night and start chugging it in their room with their mate? How hard is it for a kid to like sneak a cigarette out of his dad's packet from his fucking top drawer every once in a while?
Like, it's hard to get away with smoking because it's like you smell it. But it's way easier to get away with like having a little bit of whiskey or something. Yeah.
Not if you drank as much as I drank that night.
Yeah, you're a genius for like jumping straight into the deep end, or maybe just lightweight, man.
I got pretty. No, bottle like that big. I drank half of it.
All right. You got messed up then.
Oh yeah, I was a mess. I couldn't fucking walk or nothing. I remember I was in the kitchen and my friend made me a glass of water, and I went to drink it and I went, ugh, and then I fell over and headbutt the floor.
Oh man, I actually don't have too many like stories like that, but like literally, like,
well, I very rarely drink, but
like
I've been drunk maybe 6 times in my whole life. I'm 24.
About like a week and a half ago, or like 2 weeks ago, like on the train, I saw this kid on the train. Like I was on the train, probably would have been like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I was heading back home, and on the train, I saw this kid. He definitely wasn't older than 15. He was probably like 14, and I just saw him on the train. He was rolling cigarettes, man, like a kid rolling cigarettes on a train.
Yeah, dude. When I was in grade 6, not even in high school yet, I had a friend who we would walk together to the milk bar, and the guy at the milk bar would sell him cigarettes from his own personal pack. So he'd give him just like a handful of fucking money or whatever, and the guy would like look into his packet and go, "Oh, I can give you this many." That's how my friend used to get his smokes. We're in grade 6. We haven't hit puberty yet.
I don't even understand like how someone who smokes is like morally okay with selling children cigarettes, right? Like every smoker who smoked for at least a while knows how bad it fucks you up, man.
Yeah, man. We had school kids asking you for cigarettes, like after cards one day, and you asked them for ID.
I didn't ask them for ID. I said, "How old are you?"
Yeah.
How old are you? Like, I've got the funny. Like, I had a hilarious story. Like, I forget which year it was, but it was before 2018. These kids came up to when I was having a smoke on the street. These kids come up to me, and they said, "Oh, can I have a cigarette?" I'm like, "You look pretty young." You look pretty young. They're like, "Oh, I'm 18. Okay, what year were you born?" They're like, 2000 and. Because this was like 2017 or something.
Yeah, so they had to have been born in 1999, the latest.
Yeah. But yeah, like, even then I probably wouldn't have given them a cigarette. But it's like, yeah, like a lot of young kids smoke, and like my mentality is like, I know it's bad, and anyone who's like smoked for a while, they know how bad it is for you. So you don't want to get other people on it, right? We're smoking, right? Like back when I was smoking reluctantly because I was addicted to like cigarettes, right? But I wouldn't want other people, especially kids, to have to deal with that, right? And like even on the next level, it's like, hey kid, if you want to smoke cigarettes and kill yourself, at least get a job so you can pay for your own way to kill yourself, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, I just treat it as another way of making it a little bit harder for kids to ruin their lives. So I'm a good guy.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I think it's every man's right to fucking put whatever he wants in his fucking body. I don't care if it's bleach. That might be a bit controversial, but we're trying to start controversy so we can sell out harder, man. We need to bring attention to ourselves.
It's not time for controversy just yet. We gotta get a little bit more backing before we do that.
We need to start a boxing match with some big fucking YouTuber.
Oh man!
How many YouTubers do you think you could take in a boxing match? Like,
it depends though. Like if they're into like the fitness YouTubes, like probably not that many. Probably maybe 1 or 2, and they fuck you up, man. I don't know. I could probably take out a lot of those like nerd YouTubers that like talk about anime and shit.
Tekken 101 versus Jay-Z.
I could take Tekken 101.
Of course. I'd probably fight him to a stalemate.
Like I could probably beat up 2 Spooky and Mother's Basement.
I think you know what? I think you could take out Jake Paul, but I don't think you could take out Logan Paul.
Yeah, Yeah, well,
Logan Paul's ripped, man. He was like,
I didn't see that fight, but like, just
I didn't watch
watching
the
his
fight.
physique-
I didn't watch the fight. I know him from his Vine days, and he's ripped. He was I think he did a lot of gymnastics and shit in his life too. He's really flexible. I've seen him get his leg fucking all the way up here. I did gymnastics for like 8 years. I could never get my leg that high.
Well, I guess since we're talking about Logan Paul, he did put up a YouTube video very recently. Damn it, I forgot what it was called, but Logan Paul is the fastest or something. So Logan Paul, he made a YouTube video, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the fastest YouTuber in the world."
It's Dear YouTube, who wants $100,000?
Such a clickbait title.
Yeah, right. It's a Mr. Beast kind of title.
Yeah, and he's walking around on this like just on a track, like on a track and field sort of track, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the fastest YouTuber in the world." It's like, I'm willing to put $100,000 on it. And then he's like, "Okay, yeah, well, like now, like we're gonna hold this field and track day, and any YouTuber or like influencer can contact me and get involved, and we're gonna race for charity and shit."
I think we should contact him.
Yeah, man, we could totally make it, man. Just if we book our flights now, we may be able to afford it to get there on the 27th of July or some shit, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like there's probably going to be a whole bunch of people that like want to attend or want to get involved, but like he has to turn people away, right? Because he can't have like a field and track event with like 200 competitors for each for each sport. Especially it's going to stream it and stuff, right? But like, yeah, it just seems like, how does he come up with these things, man? Like,
I don't know, dude. I mean, how do I come up with any of my fucking shitty YouTube ideas?
See, like, here's the thing though, like, when I make YouTube videos, I'm analyzing shit, right? So I'm just like playing games and I'm just like telling people what I learned. Like, I don't know how to come up with a like original idea. I don't know how to like make a video and like get people hyped about shit, man.
I don't know.
Like,
sometimes I'm just like bumming around and then I'm just like, oh no, I'm gonna make a big video about the World Rock Paper Scissors Championship. This is gonna be great, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna have this guy in it and this guy in it. And then I'm going to commentate it, and I'm going to be like the host of the show, and I'm going to be in the desk in one scene, and then I'm going to run to the event, and I'll be in the next scene. I'll walk in and go, "Thank you, Victor. Here we are at the event." You know, sometimes you just like bumming around and you come up with ideas.
But yeah, like, he like called out a whole bunch of people in his video, and like, yeah, I guess he's going to like try to get them in and like do a massive event and get a whole bunch of monies, and yeah, give it all to charity. Just building that social media branding, man. Like, seems like all these people on social media just they figured out the game, man. That's what we're trying to discover. We're trying to discover how to like bring the hype, how to build the social media, man.
Yeah.
Because Logan Paul got into a boxing match like 2 years ago, or was it last year?
Last year, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're doing the rematch this year, I'm pretty sure.
Apparently that was like massive though. Like apparently
that was like one of the most streamed events on pay-per-view ever. It's like, you know, nothing serious or anything. I'm pretty sure it had more eyes on it than a Conor McGregor fight.
Yeah, right? So it's crazy how they like manage to get such huge numbers, and how he just like keeps able to like keep bringing the hype. But yeah, in more social media news with celebrities, Taylor Swift, man, like, so Taylor Swift has been like going onto social media and just like calling out her old record label. So Taylor Swift initially, when she started off her career, was with a record label called Big Machine Music. So that's initially where she was on, and she had, I believe, 6 albums or something that she started off with them. And
country music.
And
different time in her career.
Yeah, recently she a little while ago, instead of renewing her contract with Big Machine Music, she decided to go with Universal, so UMG instead, right? Now the thing is that
Fuck.
yeah,
UMG
man.
are in a bit of heat themselves.
Yep. But so the thing is that she actually doesn't own any of the music from when she was at Big Machine Music. So yeah, she doesn't own her. Are they called originals? No, her masters. Yeah, which apparently is like the original recordings of like the music that they recorded. So she doesn't own any of that music. And so recently, Big Machine Music got bought up by another music group / investor, and now they own her music. And she just got super upset because the person who bought them up is someone that she's not had a good relationship with, and now she's like throwing a big tantrum on the internet of how like her music's like a part of her soul, a part of her like life, and a part of her like everything, and now it's like it's trapped to someone else, right? And like you've got a whole bunch of other celebrities coming out the woodwork, like saying, "Oh yeah, like I agree, it's music, it's part of you. Like someone shouldn't be able to hold it ransom." And then like Justin Bieber and some other people are like, "Oh yeah, no, I know this guy who owns his company, and he's not a bad guy." So yeah, so like that's a massive controversy at the moment. Now my opinion is that, like from strictly a business opinion, it's kind of like
I think we'll share a
sucks to
similar
be you.
opinion on this one, to be honest.
Yeah, sucks to be you, right?
Yeah.
But like at the same time, Taylor Swift honestly doesn't have the best. Like if you like remember years ago, like classic Taylor Swift, she does not have a good like reputation on social media. She like really like overplays all the drama in her life. Like wasn't there that period where all she did was just sing songs about like all her broken up relationships and shit?
I think that was more an Adele thing, but yeah, she did sing some relatively samey songs.
Yeah. So basically, then there were some disputes about like her previous record label, Big Machine Music. So Taylor Swift's father is a shareholder of that company. Not sure exactly how he became a shareholder, but I would assume part of it was probably because of Taylor Swift's involvement in the record label. And yeah, supposedly, like shareholders were given information about the sale of the company to a different guy, and supposedly, Taylor Swift's father wasn't notified about it. But what actually came up in like later, so like Taylor Swift said that this company was sold without anyone being notified or being informed, that she wasn't informed. But the reason why she wasn't informed was because the sale of the company, when they were disclosing that to the shareholders were required to agree to non-disclosure. They had to have a non-disclosure agreement. So Taylor Swift's father would have received that phone call, but then during that phone call, he told them that he would not take a call, he would not be a part of that meeting, because he didn't want to be in a situation where he was legally obligated not to tell his daughter something that affects her. So I guess that's an interesting thing as well, right? So let's say that there's like some sort of business that involves like a spouse or a child of yours, right?
Yeah.
And like in order to hear or to know about what's going to happen to them, there's a non-disclosure agreement. Would you like take the call, take the meeting, and find out about what happens, even though you may not be able to tell that person that involves, who's like your close like family relation, or would you like just breach the disclosure agreement, or just like not take the meeting?
I think he's done the most responsible thing you can do. I mean, he's not taken the best action as a father, because if something bad is going to happen to your kids, you'd want to say to them, hey, this thing's going to happen to you pretty soon. But I don't know, it's kind of a decision I admire a little bit, for him to have gone, yeah, she's my daughter, yeah, I'm also a shareholder for this company, but you're making me sign this document, and if this affects my daughter in a negative way, there's no way I'm going to be able to uphold on this agreement. So I I think he's probably done the best. He's probably made the best decision he could by not participating in that meeting.
But yeah, so Taylor Swift is, yes, like she's pushing this huge narrative of how she's losing a big part of her life by like not having ownership of this music and stuff, right?
I don't know, but
And
like, what about the fucking guy that sold his logo to Nike for like $15, and now it's a billion. It's like $1 billion fucking item.
yeah, man.
You know, like, how do you think he feels? Oh man, I made this tiny little logo for $15. What about when Stephen King was writing books and he was selling his books to publishers for $50 a pop? Do you think he's sitting there going, "These books are a part of my soul. I want them back"? I don't know, dude. You made music for a fucking company. Like, if those songs exist in your soul, they should not hold a monetary value to you, realistically. I mean, if you're a creative and you want to monetize your creativity, this is what you have to do. You know, people have to buy what you create. I mean, everyone's still going to listen to that music and go, "Yeah, this was made by T Swizzle." I mean, I don't know. Like, you don't have to own something for it to be a part of you. I really don't care about T Swizzle and her fucking albums and fucking songs she doesn't own anymore.
And like, so she says like in one of her tweets, "Oh yeah, this is the music that I played when I was like playing in bars and like really starting off and shit, right?" And
don't sell them to begin with.
Don't sell them, exactly, right? Like there's a reason why you're so rich right now, and it's because you signed up with record labels who made you big, right? So like, here's the thing: had you had the ability to just go back and make the complete opposite decision, right? Cool. Would you rather be where you are now, not own a whole bunch of albums, and be like rich, or would you rather be someone who's like still grinding their way, busking and like playing at bars and shit, and having complete ownership of your music, right? Like, clearly it's night and day. Clearly it's night and day. You would much rather be in this universe than in the universe where you didn't take the deal, right? And so, like, I feel that this is one of those situations where celebrities really have no touch of like actual society or actual economics and actually how the world works, right? You are rich like beyond like 99% of people because of this deal, right? And now you're getting greedy. You want like something out of vanity, like just because you hate the person who now currently owns it, right? And to then go onto social media and to talk about how it's a part of your soul and how it's so meaningful to you and stuff, like, yeah, it's people like pull up the most like the biggest load of bullshit sometimes when it's like when emotions are involved. But yeah, like objectively speaking, she doesn't own it. She like signed it away, and she like made a lot of money out of it. So like she comes out ahead.
Look, I'm a creative too, man. Like, I know what it's like to make something and really feel like it's yours. But I mean, be fucking realistic, dude. If you're gonna make money off that thing, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, this is the way people make money doing this shit. I mean, like, I still have, like, I'm published, but I still have ownership of my book, based on how my contract agreement with my publisher is. But, you know, also the publisher I'm with, they're not taking my book to all kinds of fucking heights or whatever, because that's not the kind of company that they are. But if I got in with one of the top dog publishers, you know, I would be selling my book, to like enter an agreement with them. It stops becoming my book in a sense. So I don't know. Other creatives have to suffer the same problem. Think about the Beatles, man. Paul McCartney, for how many years he didn't own any of the Beatles tracks? Michael Jackson owned them because he gave Michael Jackson advice one day, and he said, you need to buy something if you want to make some better money or whatever. You got to, you know, buy some catalog. You know, go through and, you know, buy some old songs or whatever, get ownership of those things. So he said, oh yeah, that's pretty good advice. And then he went and bought all Paul McCartney's fucking songs. And fuck, man, he was livid as. Paul McCartney was livid as. But eventually, because you have to renew these things when you buy them, he ended up getting them back because the Michael Jackson estate stopped renewing their ownership of them. And when that happens, they go back to their original owner. So, all right, Taylor Swift, you've probably at least got that. Maybe, I don't know, where, you know, like 30 years down the track, you might just get your songs back. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's happened to Marvel a couple times. Because Marvel Studios are trying to get all their IP back.
Yeah, after they sold them for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But, like, that being said, though, like, I'm pretty sure if Taylor Swift goes to whoever owns the rights and the, like, masters of her music and just offers them, like, a very good amount of money, those investors, if they don't care about the music, they care about the money, man. Like, look, if you can get, like 50% returns on your money on investment, like, in one day or, like, within a month, you take the money, right? Like, so 100% she can get her music back. Like, just go to those people, offer them money, make an offer, like, work it out and get your stuff. But she, like, what? Like, now that you're rich, you think you're entitled to get your stuff back for free? No, you earn that money. Now you got to spend that money to get what you want. So, like, I am totally on board with this current situation. And I think, like, problems are solvable, man. Investors, they only care about money, man. So if you give them a good enough deal, you can solve your problems. Like, because right now, if this music means so much to her, just spend the money, right? Money technically doesn't mean anything to you. So yeah. And by the way,
it's a good point. If the fucking money doesn't mean anything to you, then just buy your songs back.
Exactly. And investors, all they care about is money, right? Because that's all they do it, because they think they can get the money back later.
Do you think, like, a business should just give you something back? because it was yours once? Because they feel bad for you? Because they have a good soul?
Technically, it's like, because they fronted, like, the record label fronts the money to record it, to produce it, to distribute it, and all that sort of shit, right? Like, yeah, you as a musician, you can create music, but if you don't have the networks and or the finances to get your music out to the wider mass, you'll never be able to, like, monetize it, right? That's, like, a whole problem within itself, right? Like, when you go to, like, look, when you went to get your book self-published, you had to put a whole bunch of money down, right? Now, like, these people, when they, like, make their music and a, like, record label signs them, they don't put any money down. The artist doesn't put any money down. The artist just records their music, right?
Yeah.
And the record label takes the gamble. They put the money down initially, right? And, like, that's why, like, they retain these rights, because they put the money down. They make this happen. They create this product, right?
They made you big.
Yeah, and they got it out there. They sourced it. They had, like, all their connections, right? And that was the only way that, like, the musician or the artist gets rich, just because these other people, like, knows this entire supply chain, right? And that's why. Yeah. So, by the way, like, the only reason why we're even talking about the story, or why I even put the story in, is because it involves a pretty girl. And so, like, every week from now on, I'm going to try to have at least one story that involves a pretty girl, so we can always have a pretty girl in the thumbnail.
Tell me this.
I didn't tell you this, but I decided early today.
Fucking Belle Delphine.
Always have a dude. Like, look, it has been proven that video thumbnails with pictures of hot girls on them get more clicks, right?
You didn't tell me this.
It is
because I was like, oh, okay, Taylor Swift, cool. I didn't know you cared that much, but
I don't care that much.
I was like, all right, whatever. We talk about the news and the controversy. Oh, he just wants a pair of tits in the thumbnail. Oh.
It's more like a cute face, because if you put tits on there, then you get flagged by YouTube's algorithm. So the face is fine.
Dude, I wonder if we're going to get flagged because I vaped live on the show.
Nah, we'll be fine.
Okay.
Like, as long as we haven't talked about this other article about Google and Project Veritas, But we'll skip over that. We'll just mention it once, and hopefully the YouTube algorithm doesn't find out
I don't
about
really
it.
know how you're supposed to talk about that. I don't know. The algorithms are really weird. And just
Yeah,
silencing people on YouTube,
but
restricting their content.
in local news, man. So supposedly, the New South Wales police or the Sydney police, they arrested 3 individuals in Sydney for for an alleged terror plot, man. Yeah, so like this literally happened like early this week, and like the police were reporting on it. So they have been surveilling these individuals for about 12 months, and only recently, and they've been collecting evidence, and it's only recently that they felt that they've collected enough evidence to arrest these individuals and to make a case. And so, like recently, three particular individuals who were planning a terror attack on behalf of the terror group Islamic State. They were like their houses were raided, and like the police like basically like sorted them and like got a whole bunch of evidence, and they're now under arrest and stuff. So, potential terrorist attack thwarted by like counterintelligence and police in Australia, man. Like, it's crazy, man. Like living in Australia, because like Australia is such a, in general, like accepting country and everyone's pretty chill and stuff. You'd never expect for like terrorists to be like around in your city, right?
Yeah.
But apparently
I don't
they
know.
exist.
Like, I don't know about the outside world, but like, I feel like we just get grouped in with Yanks a little more than I'd like. People just seem to think Aussies and Americans are just one and the same. And I don't really like that. I don't want to be compared to no Yanks or rednecks. I'm not like those guys. Fuck, man. I don't even really like USA that much. I mean, I love the United States of America.
I don't know.
Greatest country in the world, am I right?
The USA is kind of just like the butt of a lot of jokes, like in terms of a country. I don't know, like the
like, this isn't a Friendlyjordies video, by the way. Like, there was a whole fucking like thing where the CIA sacked one of our prime ministers because he didn't want to just follow along with whatever the United States wanted, and he didn't want Australians to be dragged along into some of the USA's conflicts and wars and shit like that. So the CIA got really heavily involved and actually got one of our prime ministers sacked.
Which one? Who is this?
This was in a Friendlyjordies video. I don't know which prime minister it was, but
okay.
it's titled something along the lines of "Why I Hate the USA."
Okay.
And that's a pretty interesting one to any of our viewers out there, if you want to know how much control USA has on the developed world.
Yeah, of course they do. Most of the internet infrastructure is like within American companies, and they have like the whole Freedom of Information Act, which means basically all the information that goes through Google is basically like free use by like US government for like national security reasons and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, potentially like another terrorist attack in Australia, man. Like it was like what 5 years ago when we had that like Lind Cafe siege or something.
Yeah, in Sydney too.
It's interesting, eh? Like
Yeah.
we don't get terror attacks down here in Melbourne.
Oh, we had that guy on Burke Street driving his fucking car around.
Was that a terror attack though? Like he was on
It's
drugs.
more like just one deranged guy who sort of believed in that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. With these terror attacks, man, it's a whole fucking complicated thing. Why do people do it? What's their goal? What are they trying to achieve by fucking blowing up, a bank or whatever the hell? I don't know. Well, what is the goal of terrorist groups? To create terror and raise awareness.
Yeah,
know.
man.
It's
Like sometimes it's like not even necessarily necessarily agreement. Like remember the other night when we were watching that movie, Non-Stop with
yeah.
with Liam Neeson in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, in case you guys don't know, we were like the other night, like on Channel 7 or something, movie called Non-Stop, which is like, it's a movie where a plane is hijacked in the air, and Liam Neeson, who's a air marshal, has to figure out like
Who's doing it while he's being framed as the guy who's hijacked the plane. And
Yeah.
he's trying to keep the situation under control because he knows it's one of the passengers. So he doesn't want to make a public announcement to all the passengers to tell them what's going on, and he doesn't want to tell them that people are dying on the plane. So then the passengers are starting to like get really angry at him, and eventually it works out. And
so spoiler alert to people who have not watched that movie or care about that movie, but I'm pretty sure no one really cares about that movie. So spoiler alert, the reason why these people hijacked the plane was because supposedly there were two hijackers involved. One hijack, so like yeah, they were like they were in on it together. So one hijacker, he wanted to be a martyr. He wanted the entire plane to blow up, because he feels like the TSA and like the security in America was like too weak on airplanes, because like apparently his father was a victim of like 9/11, and like his partner in crime was a soldier who was like also he was also want to like promote a message of like, yeah, they need to increase their like domestic security and stuff, but he didn't want to be a martyr. So there was this like real conflict at the end with the two terrorists. One was just trying to blow up the plane, and the other one was just like trying to get out with his ransom money.
Yeah.
So like with terrorist attacks, sometimes like the terrorists they just want to promote a message, and they don't give a shit about dying, right?
I think for a lot of people, even people just want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and they want to feel like they do something meaningful. They want to feel like they make a difference, and I guess some people get an idea or get a message that's like, this is a problem in the world. This problem needs to be fixed. This is what I'm going to do to contribute towards fixing the problem. And then somehow it gets twisted into, I'm going to bomb a marathon running. Or something like that.
Yeah, like...
And then people will be more aware of my cause. And then more people will, through knowing about it, will start to do the same thing. And it will just keep happening and happening until change is made. Which is funny, because now that I think about it, that's what... I remember I used to watch Call of Duty commentaries way back when, and there was always shit like, I hate to compare it, I know, it sounds ridiculous, because it's on a completely different scale, but if you had like an overpowered weapon in a video game, I remember one of the messages the commentators used was, the weapon's overpowered, keep using it. Everyone just use this weapon, everyone just use this character or whatever. And eventually, the developers will have to do something about it because the problem gets bloated so much. So, I don't want to compare the two that much, even though I am, but it seems like it's a very similar strategy when it comes to terror attacks. Of, if I blow something up and it becomes a big fucking catastrophe, and more people will see it, then of all these people that see it, even if 100,000 people think that's fucked, there might be that one person that goes, wow, he did a really good thing, I'm going to do that too.
So your analogy is, if there's a problem with the system, keep abusing the system until someone decides to change it.
Yes, that's what I was trying to get across. It seems like that's the goal of terror.
So the analogy is, people are terrorists and commit terrorist acts because the system's broken, and they'll continue to keep doing it until ideally the other side changes some aspect, and then then they'll decide no more terror, right?
Yeah. Which is why the United States, they come out and said, we will not negotiate with terrorists. Because the whole point there being, if you negotiate with a terrorist and you give them what they want, then other terrorists will look at that and go, we can break them, so let's just keep fucking with them, and then they'll give us what we want. That's why you don't negotiate with terrorists, so to speak.
So, your analogy of...
What are you...
I just keep going back to this shitty Call... I'm trying to work out how to make this Call of Duty analogy work. But, like, it's a real stretch, man.
Is it? But that's what they did. This was a problem, so we're going to abuse it, and then you'll just have to do something about it. Except their way of abusing it is fucking suicide bombing something.
Yeah. Not great. Not great. But talking about more war and terrorism, apparently Donald Trump met Kim Jong-un in North Korea very recently. So he flew over all the way to South Korea, and then he went to the border crossing, and he met Kim Jong-un, and he crossed on over, and they took the photos, shook hands, and then like they walked over back to South Korea, shook hands, and they said some speeches and stuff like that, right? Like, yeah, so the article wasn't very big, and it was just like a very short sort of little piece. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how like everyone was giving Donald Trump shit like initially when he got voted in, but I don't know, man. Like as much as crazy as people think he is, he actually is like he's a pretty good peace guy.
Yeah, well, he's the first ever president to actually step foot in North Korea. So you can make an argument here that he is actually a good president because he made peace with a country that is threatening nuclear war.
Like, and don't you remember, like, I don't know, it was like within the first month of like Trump's like presidency, didn't him and Kim Jong-un have some sort of like fucking Twitter debate or some shit? Like there was some...
So I think they had a little mini fight, but then Kim Jong-un came to the White House and they talked at the White House, and I guess they got along okay enough to make some kind of rudimentary peace, and the whole point of it was we're trying to denuclearize North Korea. You know, we're trying to get rid of their nukes. You know, it's very convenient. It's very convenient for the United States to be the only country in the world to have nukes, you see. So that's the goal there. But if you want to make an argument in the other direction that he's a bad president for peace, I did read into a little bit about Donald Trump's... I should know more about this before I talk about it on a podcast, but his relations with Cuba are pretty bad compared to what Obama was trying to do. Where the United States has a trade embargo against Cuba, which is why, if you ever wonder why Cuban cigars are like so highly sought after and they're worth so much and shit like that, it's because
they're hard to get.
They're hard to get. Relations with Cuba have been pretty poor because, you know, there was a time when I guess we still kind of live in that time, but if we want to talk about the Cold War, you know, the war on communism, you know, in the 1940s, you know, the United States defeated fascism, and then it's been taking them many, many more years to defeat communism. And one of those steps along the way was Cuba. I mean, Cuba's a lot closer to the United States than like the Soviet Union was, and Cuba is also a lot less powerful than the Soviet Union was. Of course, the Soviet Union fell apart, but Cuba is still chugging along as a communist country. Obama was trying to increase tourism. So he allowed people to fly to Cuba. So it increased tourism in that area. And he was starting to make some good relationships with... I don't know what the leader of Cuba is called. I don't think he's a president or whatever. But whatever his name is anyway, because I know Fidel Castro handed it over to his brother, and then not that long ago Fidel Castro actually died. But since Trump has got in, he said, you know what, fuck that, that's not working, and so he's starting to pull back on a lot of those decisions Obama made. But it seems like, I mean, when he got elected, a lot of his campaign was, I'm going to undo that bullshit that Obama did. And so this might be one of those things along the way. The argument being that all these nice things that Obama was doing to try and build relationships with Cuba, they weren't working, so we're going to do it my way now. But like I said, I don't know the exact specifics. I know that Obama tried to increase tourism within the area, because Cuba's a really poor country. The quality of life in Cuba not that good, believe it or not. So Obama believed that he should do something about that, because America is one of the main reasons why quality of life in Cuba is so poor. So he thought he should be the guy to try and fix that. But Donald Trump has a very different method, and that has raised tensions between them.
Yeah, he's a very, like, he's not a very maybe not diplomatic's the right word. He's not a very political leader. Like, when Obama does stuff, he like does it by the book, like with all the politics, and do it step by step, slowly and stuff. Yeah. Trump, it's like whenever he gets stuff done, man. Like, maybe it's not the right way or the proper way to do it. He just like sends out so many executive orders, man. He just doesn't give a shit about other people. He just does stuff, man. Which on one hand means he gets stuff done, and on the other hand, it's like there's like absolutely no, like, it's like complete disregard for like the proper procedure and the rules. He can still
get chastised by like Congress or whatever. So he can't he's not a dictator. He can't just do whatever the hell he wants. Like bills have to be passed and things like that. And because he's not that popular, if Trump had a bigger popularity rate, especially within the political sphere, he'd be able to accomplish a hell of a lot more of what he wanted than he can at the moment. But it's because he's just so unpopular. But there's another election next year. I don't think he's making a second term.
I don't think.
But I don't think Ted Cruz and his Simpsons impressions are going to push him over the line.
Oh, it's so weird. Like, honestly, for someone who's like not a politician, he had a pretty good run, like, as president. But like, I don't know if the magic is still there for him to like try to run for president again.
I feel like he was a flash in the pan. I mean, fucking, Oprah is running for president next year.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit! Like, cause like wasn't like there was some Democratic like debates very recently or something.
Didn't watch them.
Yeah. So apparently we're at the very start of the road to the next U.S. election.
Yeah.
And part of me just wants to see more of the shit show. I just want to see the controversy, man. I generally don't care. Like, I would love to see like another crazy person like Donald Trump enter the White House again. It's to me, it's like a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Of like what sort of like crazy person we can get into the White House. But that segues us very nicely into Google and Project Veritas. Did you watch the video or links and stuff?
I watched a little bit about the video, and
cool.
I know the segue you're going for, in that I'm pretty sure Trump can say whatever the hell he wants on Twitter at the moment, but some other people are like normal people like you and me would be restricted on Twitter in what we can say.
Actually, no. So Project Veritas is like this group that's trying to maybe like expose what the like sort of tech companies are doing, that are trying to control politics and that freedom of speech and that sort of stuff. So recently, about like a week ago or something, what these people did, they got an employee from Google, and they took her out to lunch, and they duped her into believing that she was talking to some other sort of like left-leaning group. And they filmed her as she was talking, and she said a whole bunch of shit like, "Oh yeah, we failed, and that's how you have a disaster like Donald Trump." And so we're trying to figure out what can we do at Google to prevent the next Donald Trump from coming in, right? And so like she was talking as if like she was definitely while she was talking from her own behalf. She wasn't talking on behalf of Google's behalf, but like what the video really showed was that there is a strong political leaning within the employees at Google, and the way their political leaning can obscure the neutral or the unbiased nature that social media companies can have. It shows that tech companies aren't unbiased and they aren't neutral, so that means they do have a skew, or they do have a way to affect politics. And so like people are getting upset, and Google's really working working real hard to show or to try to say that they're trying to stay neutral and they're not trying to like affect politics, and they're trying to keep out of it. And people are really mad because like quite evidently, and people knew, but this is like just evidence to say that Google has like left-leaning employees, largely left-leaning culture to it, and they're proactively trying to like do their best to like censor right-wing ideas and communications. And so like very recently as well, like a lot of those videos, a lot of that discussion, a lot of that footage from YouTube has been like removed, flagged, just like made unseeable for like, and so the reasoning by YouTube is that it's like harassment content or something. But so basically a whole bunch of stuff is getting censored right now.
I mean, they use the harassment content tag for just about anything. If it's it's harassment. Why did we take it down? It's harassment. Why did we restrict it? Harassment. Like that's kind of like their go-to.
It's such a catch-all term, eh? It's like getting fired because you're not a cultural fit.
Inside jokes, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone who's been fired for being
not being a cultural fit,
not being a cultural fit, you know how it feels.
You know what it means.
So, there's a lot to unpack here. There is a lot to unpack here. I mean, it immediately what I think about when I hear something like that is Rupert Murdoch, who has one of the biggest hands in our country in deciding who gets to be our next prime minister. This guy is traditionally always been liberal leaning. I mean, look, I'm not specific on how it works in the United States of America, but there's no real left and right in Australia in terms of who's a conservative.
Oh yeah, there is, man.
No. There's no, like, when it comes to politics, there's no we're the conservatives and we're the fucking we're the progressives or whatever. It's about big business versus the workers in Australia. Okay, I mean, that's been our entire political campaign for pretty much ever. It's the unions versus big business, because the Liberal Party cares about things, is supposed to care about things like trickle down economy. So if you can make big business bigger, that means there'll be more jobs for people down the bottom, and they'll be able to hire more workers. They'll hire a bigger workforce because they have more money, so they can afford to do things like that. Whereas the Labour Party would be more about workers' rights, because workers' rights and things like, which is funny how some things are flipped around. I'll bring up immigration for one thing. It doesn't seem like a worker's interest in particular who you would expect to support the Labour Party. If you're a worker, you're an average blue-collar Joe, you wouldn't want your jobs going to immigrants who will do your work for cheaper. But the Labour Party and the Liberal Party would be like, yeah, of course big business would want to hire people for less money or shit like that. But those kind of roles are flipped around. The Liberals are the ones that want to slow down immigration, and the Labour are the ones that want to increase it. So, I don't know. That's just something I threw in there a little bit. But Rupert Murdoch is a big business. He owns a massive share of media within our country. So obviously it would be within Rupert Murdoch's best interests to support the party that supports him. And big business is going to have more money than the average Joe, so big business can put more money into Liberal campaigns and they can donate more money to the party and things like that. That's not something your blue-collar average Joe workers can do. So whenever we come around to an election cycle, you see all kinds of front page scare campaigns and like liberal propaganda that's all just from his company. Because why? It's in his best interests to do that. Because then he'll make more money because the party that supports him is in power. So that's the kind of shit I think about when I hear this sort of thing. Like I said, I don't really know what it's like in America. I mean, a lot of people tried to argue that there wasn't a political bias in our most recent campaign. But I mean, the biggest news site that supported the Labour Party is like the 5th most viewed news source in Australia. And then the 4 above that all supported the Liberals. So it's like, yeah, go figure. And an independent candidate known as Clive Palmer actually spent more money on his campaign. Got 0 seats, by the way, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. He spent more money on his campaign than the Labour Party, the major party in Australia. That's just my way of kind of relating this a bit more to us. As far as fucking like Google goes, I'm running off the assumption right now that Google is a majority young kind of workforce, and young people are traditionally a lot more left-leaning than older people are. So I'm not particularly surprised that there would be a little bit of a left bias within Google, because a company is made up of people, and people are going to have their own political ideas and agendas and shit like that. So it would have to lean one way or the other. I'd be very surprised if you managed to get Google or any company to an equilibrium 50-50 of both sides. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, like, that being, like, yeah, like, I totally understand that people have their own political leanings and, like, yeah, they have their own perspectives and their own views, right? But I think the biggest issue here is that YouTube and Google, these are seen as sort of neutral internet resources. When people Google something, they assume the Google algorithm is trying to give them the clearest, the best quality information on the topic or the idea or the query that they're searching, right? So I guess as a part of accuracy, there is an expectation that they want the content to be unbiased or like accurate to an unbiased point, right? So if you're querying Google about political parties and anything political or that sort of stuff, right? You don't want your information source, in which you would hope to be neutral, unbiased, and accurate, you wouldn't want Google to direct you only to the articles or the videos or the sources that
align with their interests, that support their interests. That would be the expectation. And I guess what I was trying to get at with the fucking Rupert Murdoch thing is that he's a news source. His company is supposed to give you just the facts, and they're supposed to be neutral, but they're clearly not, because obviously being the rich, massive business owner that he is, he would have his own political leaning. And that is... Look, I'll tell you right now, I think that's so fucking wrong. Especially from a news source. But then from Google as well, I'd go. I don't think anyone would argue with me that Google is one of the biggest enterprises on the planet. And they could potentially have a great deal of influence just by restricting what people can see.
Like, my problem is that I don't mind if companies take a particular side, but I would like to know that whatever side they pick, they choose for purely economic reasons, right? So I would be totally okay if, like, cool, X companies are for X president or X candidate because those candidates are promising extra jobs or tax cuts or whatever, or support for the industry, right? I am totally okay with companies being on board in that political sense, right? But what I'm not okay with is just like, oh yeah, like the owner just happens to like these sort of politics, and here's his arbitrary reason for trying to support these politics with his platform or with his system or whatever, right? So it's like an individual trying to impose his beliefs on a lot of other people. And especially when, like, I don't know, it seems like the right, like, okay, this could be biased as shit because I am like a bit more of a conservative, but like, how come it just never seems like conservatives are imposing their opinions onto like other people, but it's always the like liberals and the lefts are always trying to like impose their beliefs onto other people, right? That's just like my thoughts or my beliefs.
Most of what I see is like the right-wing conservatives call left-wing liberals like fucking cucks.
Babies and cucks, right?
Babies and cucks, right? And then the people on the left are calling right-wingers idiots and fascists and bigots, yeah. I mean, that's most of what gets slung around back and forth. I mean, it's just like schoolyard name-calling at a certain point.
But I know a guy that's a little bit more eloquent at talking about politics than we are. So it's time for Friendlyjordies review time!
Friendlyjordies review time!
We gotta come scene. Yeah, we gotta come up with some sort of, like... We gotta come up with some sort of, like, bullshit way to... Some sort of name for this segment. Alright, so what do we have today? Today we have laughing at... So there have been two recent Friendlyjordies videos. One of them is laughing at climate deniers. And Jack, you ready? You got the scene? Alright. Okay, time to play. And yeah, so we'll play and pause it if there's commentary and stuff like that. Oh shit.
You fucking nerds. Here I am trying to teach you about politics, and all you care about is videos about fucking orcs. I thought it would take months to get to...
Okay, so...
You gonna stop on that?
In context for you guys here, his last video was like if Australians were in Warhammer or some shit. And it's hilarious when videos like that... okay, it's hilarious when channels make serious videos and no one gives a shit. But then those same channels then just make some like spin-off rando like joke video and everyone fucking loves it.
The 15,000 target, it took one fucking day. But what I'm saying is, if you commented on my video and you're a climate denier, you ain't in that club. Example, first comment. I believe the funding for climate change is a scam. Right on, brother. Australia's direct action program set up by the Liberals is as big of a scam as Pokemon cards. Wow, 11 cards for $5 and only half of them are water energies. In fact, scratch that. A bigger scam.
It's the voices that do it,
billions of taxpayer dollars handed out to multinational corporations, begging them to emit less carbon. Scroll through Google Images. Show me a single image where he isn't shitting himself at the point of the photograph being taken. He renewed the direct action policy despite it only cleaning up 7% of what it was supposed to clean up. Why do climate deniers always nitpick Al Gore's modelling, but give the guy...
Oh my god. This fucking old guy right here... Are you playing it? There's a fucking old guy he put up that little clip there just a second ago. He's some fucking fogey scientist that jumped on Louder with Crowder. Some of you, if you're following controversies, Crowder was in one recently, which he didn't really take his punishment very seriously, and why would it? It's his whole platform is trying to fight against what he ended up getting punished for. But he's a climate denier, and he brought on this guy who was in a call, and he's a supporter of like big fucking coal mining companies and shit like that. So already he's got some kind of bias, and the only thing he said to put against that bias was, "No, I'm not biased. I do not support these companies in any way. I'm totally independent." That's all the evidence you need, really, I guess. A lot of people bring him up when they're talking about climate deniers, because he came onto Louder with Crowder specifically to say that there is no such thing as climate change. It's not real. In fact, if the temperature raised a couple degrees, that would be better for us because we are a tropical species, apparently. So that's pretty much the crux of the entire argument. He said he didn't use any kind of scientific evidence to try and debunk climate change or anything like that. But he's one of those weird things that people just tend to bring up when they're arguing one side or another. Anyway, fuck that old guy, and fuck Steven Crowder, because I don't like Crowder at all.
But I like Crowder. I believe in climate change, though. I'm just going to put that out there. I believe in climate change, but I like Louder with Crowder's economic policies.
Go ahead.
To predict the future like Al Gore is. It already happened. To him. And he's still wrong. I'm not convinced on climate change. Yeah, but that's because it's hard to convince an idiot of anything. Anything that's more dense than, "This guy got stung by a centipede." Oh no, if this guy was in the Bible, he'd be in Genesis, because that would change. We're not taking a shot at Cain. He is the tool of YouTube. He's great. His fans are gross. Billions and billions is given into research and has come up with nothing. Okay, this is the Donnie Darko.
He's just Genesis. He should be in Genesis because that would Cain. So bad.
Geordie's pretty funny.
My life is just being one of those hosts on Saturday Disney, except instead of raking
He does get
pictures
sent
of
a lot of
Timon and Pumbaa,
memes.
I'm going, and this is a nice little piece of abuse. And,
Yeah,
this person's just mocked what I said and not offered a counter argument. Very nice, Philip. You don't win any Beyblades, but I do reference them a lot. At what point did the Earth's climate not change? One Republican said, "I believe in climate change. The climate is always changing." Yeah, the climate is always changing. Okay. What you fail to mention after that is that a mass extinction always ensues. I would prefer to avoid that. And the last keep coming is the next skeptic's name is Stinky Floater. How could that man be wrong about anything? Yeah, but climate alarmism is bullshit, though. And he's not. Anything that's alarmist is by definition bullshit. Press the subscribe button if you accept defeat, and press like if you think that Stinky Floater is the best damn username you've ever come across.
And next video is Unbeatable school arguments.
Oh, are you going to change it here, or?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just change in your thing.
Okay. Hang on, pause it for a sec.
Alright. No, okay, I paused it, okay.
Okay. Should we at least give some kind of commentary on what we just watched? So it's at least a little bit transformative?
I don't know, I thought it was just a reaction video. I thought it was just us laughing at his fucking jokes. I don't know.
His jokes are pretty funny. Yeah. Do we want to talk about any kind of climate change or anything like that? Do we want to at least say that laughing at climate deniers is pretty much on par with laughing at flat earthers at this point?
You're thinking too hard, man. Like, Okay, we're probably not gonna upload the video of us just sitting there for the entire 10 minutes just listening to this. We'll probably just chop up little bits where we just laugh our ass off, like the cane part and the fucking like, when has the climate never not changed?
Whoa.
Like,
how much fucking editing do you expect me to do?
whatever. Okay, just render your video and then I'll just fucking slice it up, man.
You gonna play this one then?
Okay.
There's a lot of debate about who's the best debater. Is it Ben Shapiro? Is it O.J. Simpson's lawyer? Is it the guy who defeated Santa on Miracle on 34th Street? Is it that footy player that was on the short-lived Verdict? I put it to you that none of those are even close. The best arguer on earth is teenagers, plural. Every single teenager who ever lived. I gave you a chip. When you never have food, you po fuck. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago I had that cheese and onion bag. You can remember to a very specific time frame when he had the chips. That's how you know he's pov. And then the guy with a hat will come back with...
I fucking... When I was in primary school, people would fucking flock to you like seagulls whenever you were the one guy that got a lunch order from the canteen. Which normally meant you had like potato cakes, dim sims, or like a hot dog or something. People used to fucking flock to me, man, and be like, oh, come on, let me have some, let me have some. Pretty much like he did in the video. But I used to give it to people because I felt bad for them. And it was to a degree, like you might get like 3 potato cakes in a lunch order or something. And I would have eaten a big chunk out of the potato cake, but then I would rip some off from the other side and give it to someone, because they were like, "Come on, man, I'm really hungry. Please, can I please?" But then no one ever fucking gave me any food to eat. I gave a dude half my fucking dim sim once. It was my last dim sim. You know how many days I went hungry because people kept trying to scab food off me? I had a friend in year 7 who. I used to have... I most of the time I had my own packed lunches, but his mum wouldn't give him shit. She basically said, pack your own lunches or you don't get shit, pretty much. So he just didn't pack his own lunches. I used to give him like half my lunchbox.
What? No, yeah, that's child abuse, man. Nah, he should have got fucked up, man.
I remember...
should have got reported.
I remember one of his friends... I got into an argument with one of his other friends, and he goes... He doesn't even fucking like you. He just uses you for your fucking food, mate. I was so offended. And then I looked at him and I was like, is that true? And he goes to me, oh, look, I don't use you when we're on the bus. I was like, looking back, I think, what kind of a fucking excuse is that? When we're on the bus together, we can be friends, but when we're at school, you just use me for my food.
Dude, like, kids are the worst, man. Kids are the worst. Like, Friendlyjordies is right. Like, teenagers are assholes, man. And primary schoolers are equally as much assholes. They're probably worse. Actually, no. Actually, take it back. High schoolers are worse than primary schoolers.
Yes.
What's the worst, like, when you have a packet of chips? Like, everyone's like, hey, can I have a chip? Can I have a chip? Can I have a chip?
All of a sudden, same as when you were smoking, man.
Yeah. And it's like, then you've given up all these chips. But here's the crazy thing, right? When you open up a pack of chips, all the big chips are on top. Like, all the tiny, small, like, little shards of chips are at the bottom, right?
Breaking up down there.
Yeah. So, if anything, you should eat, like, a majority of your chips first. And then when these fuckers want to come to you, like, can I have a chip? Yeah, you just, like, dig right down to the fucking bottom of the packet of the chip and just give them the little fucking shards, man.
Bad.
Listen to your kids.
Yeah.
With what he thinks is going to be the knockout punch. Chips are a sharing food. This is a drink, retard. Countered with, fuck off, you can share a drink. It's not a fucking ice cream. Now he brings out the big guns. No, I don't want to get meningococcal. And this is the point of no return. He either does it or he's a cheapskate. There's no tap dancing around this. I won't use my mouth. Unbeatable. Learning about colonisation in year 10 history. So the old saying was that the sun never set on the British Empire. They colonised a lot of countries, killed millions of indigenous people. Yeah, but they won, so it's their land. Well, how would you feel if, just for argument's sake, the Chinese came and... Ooh, racist. No, it's just an example. They came to Australia and invaded you. How would you feel then? Then it would be their land. Unbeatable.
Funny story. at fucking 18, my parents tried to take my fucking computer and everything away from me. And I was so pissed off that I actually, no joke, disconnected the internet. And said, fuck it. I disconnected the internet, I disconnected their TV and everything out the back of it. And then suddenly they're asking me for help. Why is this not working? I can't get on the internet, this isn't working. Like, they just take a play. I said, I don't know. Maybe if you gave me back my computer, I'd know how. And then they tried to fucking have this big, like, oh, you know, I don't think you understand why we took it off you. And I'm like, I don't think you fucking understand that I'm fucking 18 and I built that fucking computer myself. I paid for every part in it. I think I can play my own fucking computer as much as I want. Yeah, fucking showed them.
That wouldn't fly in my house. I'm Asian.
I don't know, I thought, like, come on, man, like, we still gonna play this game now? Like, aren't we past this at this point? You're like, why are you punishing me? Anyway, keep going.
Please? Oh, miss, I don't want to learn about Shakespeare.
Why's that?
Because he's a homo.
Logical.
How's it hurtful?
Victory.
I thought the point of English was to learn how to speak English. No one speaks like this anymore, miss.
Wham bam triple
Oh,
slam.
man.
Short.
How does he come up with this shit, man?
He's got a lot... Oh, alright. Just a minute to take a bit of credit away from him. He does have a lot of, like, people helping him out for this shit. So I imagine he's got friends, like, throwing him ideas all the time. So... I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit only to a certain extent. It's probably like 60 to 80% him, but you know, someone's also got to be feeding him ideas as well.
Yeah, like bouncing ideas like a...
I don't always have ideas myself. I mean, I tried to make a fucking like channel with different fucking gags and shit like that, and doing it by myself, I just kept running out of ideas.
Well, back to it.
Oldie but a goodie. Torbs, can you go get the ball from Mr. Connery? No, lick my nuts.
Unbeatable.
How good is the phrase, lick my nuts?
Lick
What
my
about this one?
nuts.
Passionately arguing with someone, usually over the very specific wording of a Family Guy joke. And then somebody who has no bone in the argument pegs an apple core at you. And really, can we appreciate the word pegged here? Pegged means you have thrown it with all force available to you. Torbs from the Chronicles of Yilbaz was a master of that. He knew exactly when to peg an apple core. And the answer to that is when the person is in their most heated state. That's when he goes, no, the best joke from Family Guy is when he goes, ah, 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 ah! Who the fuck was that? Dude, shut up.
Nuts cut off.
As if that's a reason to be assaulted. And of course, the creme de la creme of arguing, which is that even if someone beats you in an argument, there's always the option of just stealing their laptop when they're not looking and making their homepage Lemon Party. And for those of you who don't know what Lemon Party is, I'm pretty sure I'm just talking...
Alright, okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. When I watched this video earlier in the week, I was thinking of a way of trying to do that to someone I know. And not gonna lie, your name was on the dartboard.
Oh, come on. Fuck it now. Dude, he was talking about pegging, and he says pegging means to throw something with all of your might. I'm leaning back in this chair going, nah, pegging's when a chick puts on a strap on and fucks the guy's asshole.
See, okay. His definition was true until, like, you were, like, I don't know, fucking 1920 at least. Actually, no, later than that. Later than that, because when you were, like, 16 to, like, 20, you're still watching, like, straight regular porn, man. You don't get bored of that shit until you're, like, 21, 22, 23, and then you start watching the weird shit, man.
Yeah, because we all watch pegging. That's what we're into.
Yeah. Like, nah, man. Kids, you watch the regular porn when you're young, and then you get sick of it, and then you look at this other weird shit, man.
Yeah, man.
Who the fuck like looks up pegging as their like first porn experience? Like, isn't it? It's you don't go to like porn like youporn.com and it's not like
you don't even know the terminology when you're that age too.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the first time I was ever trying to look up porn on the internet, I was looking up stuff like
big boobs or some shit.
Yeah, right. Sexy women search, and then I wouldn't get what I want, and so I just keep going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, man.
Eventually, I clued onto the word pornography, and man, did the viruses ever come in their hundreds.
Yep.
You kids will never have to experience that.
Yeah, the worst is when like okay, this may or may not be a true story, but it probably isn't. Disclaimer. When you're using the family computer to look at porn, and okay, so like you're in the study, or so you're in a separate room, and your parents aren't around, right? So you're looking at porn, right? Okay, and it's like you think you're fine because like if your parents come around the corner, you just like just get out of it and like go alt tab back into your game, all right, and you'd be fine, right? But then what I didn't realize as a kid is that when you go onto these porn sites, it puts viruses on your computer and cookies and shit. So then when my dad was using the computer later on, there'll just be pop-ups of these porn sites that pop up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so he never caught me looking at porn, but he realized I was looking at porn because like all of a sudden, why the fuck are there all these like porn pop-ups?
Why are these dancing chicks fucking popping up on my desktop?
So, you kids these days will never, like, have to go through that because now all the web browsing shit and like safe search and incognito mode and stuff.
I used to listen. I used to be able to hear my parents come up the wooden steps before they got to my study. I've only got like 3 steps, but my dad's real heavy-footed, so you hear boom, 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 and then it's like, cool, close it. So I would be able to sit there with the door open to the room, and I'd just listen out for when he was coming, and then I could minimize it. Didn't always work, so I have been walked in on in the past.
Okay, back to it.
Yep.
The kids who are homeschooled at this point. Lemon Party is a picture of 3 very old men sucking each other off. That's the whole page. That's it. Has everyone take out your laptops? Oh, what the fuck? Dead shits in the back of the class trying really hard not to laugh. Oi, Kieran's looking at Lemon Party. I'm not. Someone put it on there. Oi, Kieran. Are you looking at Lemon Party? I didn't put it on there! Oi, Kieran, which of those old
There's
guys
fucking one of those sites where it automatically minimizes the browser and then it quickly moves around the screen, so it's hard to click off it. No, I'm serious. This is one of the ones the kids did to us. Like, it just kept bouncing around the screen, and then when you click to close it, when you finally click to close it, this pop-up message comes up, and it's like, are you sure you want to close it? So you press yes, and it's like, are you really, really sure you want to close it? Yes. Are you, like, super-duper sure you want to close it? Yes. And it would do that, like, 15 times before it would finally go away. So now I'm smart. I can just, like, Control-Alt-Delete and fucking end the task, right?
Man, so many memories of stupid shit we did at school.
Bad.
It's about jizzing in your mouth. Jimmy, if you did this, I'm gonna get you back. And double points to the 3 drop kicks in the back who figure out how to put it on the projector inside when you're learning about photosynthesis. Year 9, Kieran, first warning. If we move on to the next slide, it's... okay, whoops. I've graduated uni. I can't tell you how photosynthesis works. I can't remember. But what I can remember is Lemon Party going up on the projector. 3 kids out of 27 burst out laughing instantly. It's the same 3 kids that are always in trouble. So 3 guesses which of those it was. And then the teacher points out to the obvious ringleader, Hamish, to which his stronger than O.J. Simpson's defense answer is, it wasn't me, sir. Where do you go from there?
It's so funny that now everyone is mentioning O.J. Simpson.
Oh, I know, right? He's coming up everywhere. But dude, fucking just on that. Oh, it wasn't me, sir. I remember when I went to uni, one of my lecturers was talking about like plagiarism, where he was one of my writing teachers, and he was like, "Come on, like, don't plagiarize. It's so obvious when you do it." I mean, and he was talking about this story where this chick was standing in front of him, and he said to her, I know that this isn't your writing. I know that you've just ripped this from somewhere else." She goes, "Oh no, I didn't. Oh, I didn't." And he's like, "Okay. This is the article that you used. This is the one you directly copy and pasted straight over. It's the second link on Google. You've obviously plagiarized." And she goes, "But it wasn't me, sir. I didn't do it. No, I would never do that." And he just goes, "You know, it's not high school." Like, in high school, you probably could have gotten away with that, and your teacher would just say, "Yeah, alright," because they don't get paid enough. Yeah, I'm your fucking uni teacher. I'm allowed to swear at you, god damn it. I know you plagiarized this, you're getting a 0. Because people used to get away... You'd be able to get away with a lot more in fucking high school. So it's a bit of a wake-up call for people when they go to uni. They realize they can't get away with some of that shit anymore.
I can't relate because I was in a class with smart kids in a good school. They gave too many fucks.
Anyway, let's finish this
You
video off.
have no case. If you've been in one of those situations, press the like button. If you've been in two, press the subscribe button. That's
I guess
everyone.
that's it.
Everyone who watched this has to do both of those things.
Please share and comment below.
Alright. I guess that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's a new continuation segment.
Yeah.
Friendlyjordies review. But
Wow.
yeah.
Was it worth it? I don't know.
Let us know in the comment section down below if it was worth it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there were some pretty funny anecdotes that we talked about and stuff. We might just make the entire podcast just like video reviews. We could just be like a full-on reaction channel. A reaction podcast. The first reaction podcast.
Oh my god. Everything I didn't want to be. Is it worth it at this point?
Yeah. You were supposed to bring value to the YouTubes, not become like the reaction videos.
Oh my fucking god.
Oh man. But yeah.
Wow. Cool. Well, I think I'm just about ready to go play Teamfight Tactics now. After I look up some pegging.
Yeah. Peg those apple cores real hard.
Yeah, man. Cool.
I literally might just like Google up just like kid pegging apple core and see if there are any hilarious gifs of like a kid just throwing apple core. And it's alright. When you throw an apple, like especially an apple core, like they just fucking explode, man. They just like, fucking shatter and then like the apple fragments go everywhere, man.
Yeah. Bad.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks everybody very much for watching. Be sure to like our video if you liked the video, because it shows us that you enjoy the video and it makes us feel good. And be sure to subscribe and come back and keep watching every single week. It seems like these just seem to go up on Sunday nights, our time, which is Australian Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. I don't know which one we're in at the moment. But
Like, we've got 1 subscriber already. It's pretty lonely there. So if one of you guys wouldn't mind subscribing, we could have 2 subscribers, because 1 is the loneliest number.
2 can be as bad as 1, though. It's the loneliest number, says the number 1. And no is the saddest experience that you'll ever do.
I'm glad that you knew our lyrics, because I did not know them.
Yeah, I that's as many as I know. Alright. See yous later, squirts.
Super Sellout Podcast, episode 4, out.